Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to lesson 9 in the Fiqh series. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma alimna bima yanfa'una wa anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna ilma. Allahumma افتح علينا بمعرفة العلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي أما بعد. So we continue in the Fiqh series, and this is Matan Abi Shuja, so going through the text. And now we've come to the chapter of the wudhu breaking. So what nullifies, what breaks the ablution, what nullifies the ablution. And as we continue, it says, وَالَّذِي يَنْقُضُ الْوُضُوء. And that which يَنْقُضُ الْوُضُوء, نَقَضَ يَنْقُضُ is to break, to nullify. So what nullifies the wudhu? And for this we have, the text says 6, but we have 5 things, which is also in other books. But that 6th thing is something that can attach to one of these. So we'll see it as it comes in the end. وَالَّذِي يَنْقُضُ الْوُضُوء. And that which breaks the wudu, سِتَّةُ أَشْيَاء. So 6 things, but as we said, we're going with 5. مَا خَرَجَ مِنَ السَّبِيلَيْنِ. مَا خَرَجَ مِنَ السَّبِيلَيْنِ. What exists from the sabil? Sabil is your private parts, and we have 2, so sabilain, 2 private parts, the back and the front. So this is now to do with urine, and this is to do with feces. That's the impure things that come out. So what exits from the private parts? What exits from the private parts? And whether it can be impure, like number 1 and number 2. It can be pure, so it could be like sperm coming out. It can be also like a larvae coming out, maybe a stone coming out. If it's not mixed with any impurity like feces or anything, then it's like something pure that's come out. So any animal generally that comes out, that larvae, a maggot, if it's coming out and it's alive, then it's a pure thing, because all animals are pure except for a dog and a pig. So something that's normal that comes out like wind breaks the wudu. All of these things would break the wudu. Also, if it was something that was abnormal coming out, so blood comes out, or this animal, this maggot larvae coming out, or stones, or the likes. So anything that was to come out, if you ate something like a coin by mistake, and then that coin came out just by itself without anything else, which would be unusual, but if a coin just comes out, it most likely it'd be mixed with impurities, that's the feces. Anything that comes out, it breaks the wudu, it nullifies the wudu. So that's the first point. Money, that's sperm, that's different, as that's also pure, but it takes you out of a state from being purified to a major ritual impurity, which we'll look at next, the ghusl, the ablution, the washing. We are looking at the minor ritual impurity. We're looking at doing wudu. When we do wudu, we bring ourselves into a state of purification from a minor ritual impurity. So if any of these occur, then we go back into a state of minor ritual impurity, and to lift ourselves outside of that, once again we perform wudhu, the ablution. So the first point was whatever comes out from the private parts. The next part is an-nawm, and when it says that, it says wan-nawm, and sleep, ala ghayri hay'atil mutamakkin. So that's sleep. The carriers which say ala ghayri hay'atil mutamakkin, so in a unsecure position. So you sleep on your side, on your front, on your back, it breaks the wudu. Any type of, and you know when you're sleeping, when you've kind of gone from knowing and what's around you, you can hear what's around you, to it's gone. You've gone to sleep. You've been overcome by sleep. The only time there's an exception, the exception is on when you're sitting in a secure position. So you're sitting cross-legged and you're sitting upright, maybe in the masjid or maybe at home. For example, in the masjid, you might be waiting for the next prayer and you just fall asleep in that secure position, because the way you're sitting, your buttocks are closed, so nothing is going to kind of really just come out. Whereas when you're sleeping inside or in any other kind of position, you're not in control of yourself, and wind can most likely be the thing that comes out and you break your wudu and you don't know if you have had wind or not. So no, sleeping is a thing that breaks the wudu only if you're in a secure position, sitting in a cross-legged position, upright. That is when your wudu will not break. And if you just were to wake up in the masjid, you hear the adhan, you're in the masjid already, and then you just go and pray. You don't have to perform wudu. So unknown. The next thing was zawal lul aql. Okay, so next is the loss of intellect. So it's losing the mind. And it carries on to say bisukrin. So by intoxication, by drinking alcohol, by drinking wine or the likes, anything that intoxicates your mind. Similarly, like drugs, if you took that and it intoxicates your mind, you're not in control of yourself anymore. You've kind of like lost your intellect. That breaks wudu. Another thing is like insanity. So you lose your mind through becoming suddenly insane. That breaks the wudu as well. Losing consciousness. So also it carries on to say أو مرض أو مرض. So or illness. So you lose your consciousness. You faint for that little moment of time, or whether it be long or short. You kind of lost that mind. You kind of like fall into unconsciousness. Then it's overcome you. Then your wudu has broken. So zawalul aql, loss of intellect. And then the next thing, وَلَمْسُ الرَّجُلِ الْمَرْأَةَ, and then the man touching a woman or a woman touching a man. This is skin to skin. Any part of your skin, any part of the skin that, any part, because the next part will be a specific part of the skin. So this one is, you touch it from the back of your hand, right hand, anything as from your arm, from your leg. A man touches a woman or a woman touches a man, but there is an extra word in here. It says al-ajnabiyya. Al-mar'a al-ajnabiyya. So not a family woman, someone who's family, an outsider, a foreigner. Al-ajnabiyya. Al-ajnabiyya. And that is someone you're allowed to marry. So it's not unmarriageable kin. Unmarriageable kin is for a person either through nasab, through lineage, through radara, wet nurse. So lineage, we know we have our sisters, our mothers, our aunts from both sides, father sisters or mother sisters, our nieces from our brother's side, from our sister's side. So all these who are directly connected to us, we are not allowed to marry any of them. And that's through nasab, through lineage. However, wet nurse as well. So if you were breastfed by a woman, she's like your mother now. So her sisters, you're not allowed to marry. Her aunts, you're not allowed to marry. Her children, so she has a daughter your age, you're not allowed to marry. She's now like your sister, that daughter. So similarly, that kind of pattern kind of goes with the wet nurse one as well. So she might be someone who is far away from your family. You're not related in any sense whatsoever, but you both went to the same wet nurse and you were breastfed by this woman. So now you become like a family in a sense. Your brothers, half brothers, half sisters in that sense. So through nasab or through wet nurse, if you touch any of them, your wudu is not broken. You're not allowed to marry them as well. The ajnabiyya is the one you're allowed to marry, so that's the rest of the women. If you touch any of the foreign women, maybe even doctors, when they touch a woman when they're doing their examination, or when they see the patients, or in any other kind of way, people kind of touch. That kind of happens. It's haram to touch, but also it's the thing of, so it's haram, forbidden, unless there's a necessity, like a doctor for some reason. And the second thing is obviously it breaks the wudhu. So there's two things that happen. There's also the one that is through your marriage. So that's the mu'aqqata. The suspended ones. So the suspended ones, there are women that it's haram to marry, but that's it's only suspended for a time because there is something that prevents it. That's because you have a wife. That from that wife, now you can't marry a sister. If you were to divorce or if she was to die, then there's no reason why you could marry the sister, or you can marry that wife's aunts, for example, and so on and so forth. But because there's a wife there, you can't marry the sisters, and you can't marry the aunts and her side of the family who are now kind of like family of you. So your sister-in-law you can't marry, for example, and in that sense. So there's the suspended ones, al-muqatta. So that's also rajul al-mar'a al-ajnabiyya. But then there's another thing as well, and that says bidun ha'il, min ghayri ha'il. It's without a barrier. So a doctor wearing gloves and touching a woman, then that does not break wudhu. So any fabric, any garment, any something, cloth, anything that's even light, and you wear it and then you touch a woman, it does not break the wudhu. So if there's a barrier between your skin to the other person's skin, that does not break the wudhu. And then finally you have massul farj. Wa massu farj, but it has another word in it as well, and that's adami. Farjul adami. So the man touching woman is the above one. Man touching woman, again without a barrier, and it's a foreign woman. And massu farj al-adami is touching the private parts. So first of all, it'll be your own self. If you touch your own private parts, that will be the most likely breaks the wudhu. We already talked about something coming out of the private parts. This is touching your private parts. And this now is also to do with a specific part. So here's my hand. So whatever now you can see is my inner palm touching with the other inner palm, that would break the wudhu. So if you touch with anything that's now you can see in contact. So if you touch with the outside here, your private part, it does not break the wudhu. If you touch it with the edges of the fingers, that does not break the wudhu, but it's exactly what you can see is touching each private part inside. So this is it's like this inside part of your whole palm. If that part touches the a private part of a human, so if you touch an animal's private parts, that will not break wudhu, but it's to do with humans. So some cases it's either you touch yourself, or other times it's it's the woman cleaning her children, or even the man, he does the job of cleaning the children and nappy changing or so on and so forth. So if you were to touch that private part by accident, but again in the inner parts of the inner palm, then that will break the wudhu. You clean your children, small children or so, and then you touch the private parts, that will break the wudhu. So it's either yourselves or others than you if you touch the private parts. So touching private parts. This is the front and the back. بباطن القف. بباطن القف, that's the inner palms. Yeah, ومص فرج الآدمي, and to touch the private parts of a human, بباطن الكف, with the inner palm. And this is the last one, again number 6, but it kind of joins on to this 5th one. ومص حلقة دبره على الجديد. So Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he had a old madhab and he had a new madhab. Amazing thing was, for his second madhab, the new one, it only took him 2 years to make that, and that was completely different from the first madhab. And in 2 years to make a whole madhab, that's an astonishing feat. And in the new madhab, then it breaks the wudhu. In the old madhab was different, that it didn't, but we take our majority of rulings from the new madhab. So masu halqati duburihi al jadid. Al jadid means in the new madhab, the new whole system and structure of the new madhab. So touching the private parts. So if you touch even this is now for someone alive. If you touch a dead person, again, it will be the same thing. So when we do wash our dead people, we would use a cloth in between as a barrier. So again, with the barrier, if you touch, then that's fine. But if you were to touch directly skin to skin, but this is again the inner part of the skin, whereas lamsul rajul mara is any part of the skin on any part of your body. So a dead person, again, if you touch their private parts, break wudu as well. Over here, what exists from the private parts, when you wash the deceased, when we do the fard of its haqq, its right of washing the deceased, we tend to do the wudu, which is a sunnah for us to do. So we perform the sunnah on the deceased, and again, once you've done the wudu, and then suddenly something exits from the private parts, that does not break the wudu, because that is not applied to a dead person. We talk about people who are alive, it breaks the wudu. Also, zawal al-aql, just one thing, prophets, they do not lose their intellect at any moment whatsoever. They always have their aql intact, and Allah has protected and made them infallible from that. وصلى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم.